So now that you know how to create a basic Express application, and we are using the ESM module, so now let's learn how to organize and structure our application. So first I'm going to create a folder called source and put all the stuff that belongs to your application in it, because you're going to end up with a lot of little files outside like .gitignore and package.json, linters, configuration file. So you want to keep all your application inside one folder that you can easily find stuff in it. So let's go make directory and do a source. So this is the basically structure that the Express generator creates. We have views, public, which is got your static assets. You got the routes, public, and so on, and also the application.js. So first I'm going to move this main.js application into our source folder, and I'm also going to rename it to app because I don't like main. You can leave it if you like. So I'm going to use move main to source / app.js. There we go. Now I need to fix this one in here to find the app over there. I'm gonna save. This is the last time we're gonna edit this file. And also in the package.json there is this module. Just need to change for app as well. So that's it. If I run node index, it works. So now let's create a few more folders. I'm going to create a views, source views. I'm also going to create assets, which is going to be my static assets. And inside the assets, I'm going to create one for style sheet. And I'm going to create a file called main.css, like that. Again, you can name these folders and the file however you like, but please do follow along so we can, it's going to be easier to follow the course. Let's create a few more files for our application. So source, we're going to need a router.js. I'm going to also create a middleware.js, middlewares. I'm going to create one for my database configuration. I'm going to also create helpers.js. We're going to go through these files later, but basically this is the structure I'm just showing you now, so you can have an idea how to put it together. Now for folders, I'm going to have also a folder that is going to hold my configuration. Make it dir /source config. Here I'm going to put configuration for my like environmental configurations, and here is what I like to differ from what Express has on their website. Here they're putting routes in a different folder. Every route, like the users, they are putting the routes together. They would put the models together on a MVC pattern. We're going to learn about MVC pattern afterwards anyways. But for now, just follow along and you're going to understand what I'm saying. For example, whatever your application has a resource is like something that you can create, you can edit on your application. It's a RESTful API calls that you can do. Like you can create, you can list stuff. So these things that like users, projects, blog posts, whatever you can think of, I like to put that in a folder called resource, and add all the files that belongs to that resource into that folder. So like this you can keep, for example, let's create one for user. So I'm going to make dir. I'm going to put -p over here because the folder is not yet created. Resources /users. So here I'm using users is because it's a collection of users and it has many users, and resources, your application can have many resources. That's why I'm pluralizing here. And the -p is because the resource folder is not, it doesn't exist yet. So here I just need to add the source. So it's going to be inside my source folder, resources, users. So when I do enter, it's going to appear over here. So I have it in there. So basically, this is what I do. I do user.router.js, user.model.js, and then you have controller.js. So we're gonna look into these files, each of these files later on. Just bear with me for a moment. We're going to work in a pattern called MVC, which is Model View Controller. We're gonna learn about this later, but usually you create your model, you have a controller that is gonna do the stuff, and then you have your views, which is gonna show data back to the client. So far we have these files. So resource, users, views we're not gonna put anything for now. And we have all of these other things over here. So now we have the package.json, and here we're gonna create a script to start our application. I'm gonna remove this because I won't need it for now. And we're gonna do a script called start. Start and stop is one of the main scripts that it's available to us from the npm. And like when you put your code in a server, that server is going to look into a start script to bootstrap your application. So this is very important. Here we're going to do node index. So now if you do npm start, it's going to start our application. Now before we get going, let me mention another thing that is going to be useful for us. So here we see it works. Now if you do a change on your code, when you go back, even if you refresh, it's not there. We need to stop the server and then start again, and then when you refresh, it's there. So let's install a package called Nodejs. It will watch for file changes, and then we automatically restart your server for you. So npm install Nodejs, like that. As you can see over here on the installation, there is like no description, no repository field, some warnings over here. You can ignore it, but we're going to add some stuff in it in a bit. Now that it was installed, the Nodejs over here, you can just come onto the start script. You can swap the node for Nodejs. Now if you run your server, you see it picked up. So now every time you save your application, it's going to watch for it and it's gonna restart the server automatic. So just add that, save, there we go. Now let's take a look at npm. So package.json is where you can handle everything that happens in your app, just to keep a track on what dependencies. You can put like some author information, a description, you can add another stuff to it as well. Here we don't need keywords because keywords are for in case you're creating a package that you're gonna public make available in the npm registry. So we can remove this one, but we need to put private, which is gonna tell it not to make it available for people to search on the npm registry for it. So here on the package.json, npm files package.json, you can find a few of the stuff that you can add to your package. So like you can put a home page and other things. You can go through it and have a look. We're going to add a Git repository to it, like this one. So it takes an object inside a type and a URL. But for that, we will need a Git repository. We're going to do that in a bit. So you don't need none of this. You can leave it as is. But as you saw on the terminal before, it was giving warning about the description, and also there is no Git repository. We're gonna sort that out later. The Git, we already done the description here. Basically, what you want to do is always put private if you have your private code in it. Like if you're building your own application, you don't want this to be a open source module, for example. You add that. So now we have our application with the folder structure. Now let's continue with our development environment.